Hi. There have been countless songs in all the various genres that reference cheap whiskey. Most of them include a refrain or a chaser of regret. And hopefully, I won't regret this. A friend came up with a brilliant idea of pairing a cheap whiskey with a cheap cigar. The genius in the idea is that, well, I'm doing it and not him. And I won't mention his name, but Todd, when we get together, you know what we're drinking. Cheap whiskey. You know the whiskey I'm talking about. It's usually on the bottom shelf in the liquor store or behind the counter. I can't bend over that low to get the bottom shelf stuff, so I don't usually look at it. And it's the kind that those of us who are snobby premium whiskey drinkers would never even consider. Well, this whiskey is more popular than we realize. It's actually a very big seller. I talked to a couple of different employees at liquor stores, and they said, yeah, they sell a lot of the relatively cheap liquor. So I found one. I looked around and tried to find the cheapest bottle in the liquor store, and it was one of the big chain stores. So I found this bottle of Kentucky Gentleman. And I had a couple of criteria. One was cheap. This was the cheapest thing in the store for a 750 milliliter bottle. I wish I had bought a 1.5 ounce bottle maybe, or a 3 ounce bottle, but I didn't. And it's packaged smartly in a plastic bottle, which I appreciate. So when I drop this, it might not break. It appears to be pretty nice plastic, though. It's bottled by Barton 1792 Distillery in Bardstown, as near as I can tell. There's not a lot of information readily available, at least where I looked online. But it used to be the Tom Moore Distillery. It's been around since Ben Mattingly and Tom Moore founded it in 1879. So that's why they call it the 1792 Distillery? No, that's because they have a whiskey named the 1792. It eventually was purchased by a gentleman named Oscar Getz and named Barton Distillery, and then in 2009, Sazerac Company bought it. They own Buffalo Trace and a bunch of things. And now it's known as the Barton 1792 Distillery, and as near as I can tell, that's where Kentucky Gentleman is bottled, Gentleman. It originally was a 51% 3-year-old bourbon, then blended with a 49% natural grain spirits, vodka, basically. But that changed a few years back, and now they sell it as strictly straight bourbon. I don't know what it used to taste like, so I can't tell you if it changed. That's as much as I could find out about it. So I had to have a cigar to go with it, so I took the logical approach. I looked for the least expensive cigar in my local supermarket. I found several about the same price point, I thought originally, and one option was a Swisher Sweet. Turns out it's half the price of the one I ended up buying, I believe. You can get 2 of these things for $1.19. I happen to have grabbed the strawberry flavored one. It's a cigarillo, and I'm not sure I'm going to try that one. I looked around a little more and found what they claimed was the number one selling cigar, actually. And it's, I believe I paid $1.19 or so for this one alone. So what really convinced me was that I read that this was the number one selling cigar in the U.S. They say. And then when I looked at the Swisher Sweet online, Swisher Sweets with an S, it also is the number one selling cigar in the U.S., they say. So I didn't spend a lot of time researching, and I said, you know what, I'll get one of each. But I also chose this Black and Mild cigar, it's called, for technical reasons. Since this came in a plastic bottle and the Black and Mild is available with a plastic tip, I thought, how could I go wrong? I actually went kind of extravagant. I also purchased an additional Black and Mild. This one has a wood tip. Maybe it's better. So because it had a plastic tip, I thought it would go great with the whiskey from a plastic bottle, no? What's interesting about the Black and Mild, that the tobacco company started as a pipe shop and tobacco shop back in 1856. And it was the John Middleton Company, basically. And in 1968, they came up with the idea of blending pipe tobacco and making a cigar out of it. And it eventually was introduced around 1968 or a little after that, as cherry blend. Then in 1990, one of the descendants, I believe his name is Herb Middleton, for some reason decided he couldn't smoke their cigars on the golf course. And I don't understand all the reasons, but he came up with the idea of the plastic tip. Sure, makes sense to me. I can remember my dad and a couple other people smoking, I think it was Swisher Sweets with a plastic tip on a golf course, so I guess that works. So it was supposed to make it more enjoyable on the golf course. I may or may not try that, we'll see. But the most significant benefit of all of this might be the cost. But before we get into that, let's see what we got ourselves into. I'm going to try this whiskey. It says that it's Kentucky bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. And on this bottle, it says it's bottled by Barton Distilling Company in Louisville, Kentucky, which I believe they call the 1792. And been around since 1879. Yeah, we already established that. That's about all it says. Yeah, that's it. Very elegant looking bottle. Let's see what it tastes like. Wow. There's almost nothing on the nose. Now, this is not a perfect glass for nosing whiskey. I understand that. But you ought to get something. I'm getting nothing. There's something wrong with my nose. I don't know. We'll find out in a minute. Let me try it. Wow. Ooh. Okay. I said wow because it kind of like what I got on the nose, nothing. And then, I don't know, 10 or 15 seconds later, all of a sudden I felt something going on here. Ooh. All right, you get a little more in the nose with a proper glass. Shame on me. But, yeah, faintly, you get some, it's almost more like vanilla than anything else. You know, I might find some honey in there. I'm not sure, but there isn't a lot going on. And it doesn't smell really proofy. I'm guessing it's 80 proof or so. Yeah. 80 proof. It's not terrible. Wow. This could be something. I can become rich. I'll explain that to you a little later. So how is it on the rocks? If you put a little ice in there, pardon my fingers, but it's my drink, my fingers, I'm good. If I was mixing a drink for you, I would use a tong. All right, let's cool it off a little bit. There really wasn't a whole lot wrong with it. Yeah, even just chilling it for a few seconds, now it's got no flavor. So it's not a very powerful flavor, very weak profile. I guess you buy this if you just want to get very drunk without spending, a lot of money. All right, let's see if we can pair this properly with a fine plastic tip cigar. This cigar and this whiskey pairing, by the way, was curated personally by me for my own enjoyment and Todd's. I don't think I got to really toast this cigar. You? Oh, yeah. So it smells like pipe tobacco. That's not a shock. Not very good pipe tobacco. Well, it's very mild. It might work with this whiskey. Oops, didn't turn off all the fans. So, I can play golf with this. Oh yeah, I may try that tomorrow. Okay, the whiskey, really mild. I'll try it first on the rocks since I got it cooling off. The flavor dissipates right away. Again, I'm not offended by it. I don't hate it. I wish I had found this stuff years ago. I could have saved a lot of money. A lot of time because I wouldn't be doing a lot of whiskey and cigar reviews. I'm shocked. I actually thought the whiskey would. I was going to reach for my water and chase it with some good scotch or something and try to drink enough so that it wipes it out of my memory. But this isn't that bad. So, my friend, when I make you drink the rest of this bottle with me and smoke some of these Swisher Sweets or something, it's not going to be so bad. Don't fear it. So the most significant benefit, I'll say right now, if I were to, is cost. This adventure is very inexpensive. I think this cigar was $1.19, which makes it, if not for the Swisher Sweet, it would be the cheapest cigar in the room. And this bottle of Kentucky Gentleman was $6.84 in the unbreakable bottle. So when you put that together for $1.65, you can have an ounce and a half pour and a cigar and never look back. Great saving. The next time I go to a bar, I'm going to see if I can get some Kentucky Gentleman. I have to be a place that has cigars too. I'm actually going to see if I can make this happen in a bar or something, and I think people will get excited. But it gets better. So I've got about 300 bottles in here, and I didn't count them all and inventory them by cost. I did it a while ago, but so I used an average. So I have, if you were to replace this collection, it's about $22,500 by averaging it at $75 a bottle. They range probably from $30 to $190. Most of them being in the $70 and $80 range. So I use $75, so I could be off a few thousand, but I want to make this point. So $22,500. If, as I empty a bottle, I replace it with Kentucky Gentleman, when I have replaced all of those bottles, I will have spent a little over $2,000, 2,000 something. And that means that I will be $20,448 richer, as opposed to replacing them with whatever they are when I empty them. And then I thought, okay, if I really love this stuff, I could do that. I'm not there yet. But I would really not do that because I don't need 300 bottles. I don't need 300 Kentucky Gentlemen on my shelf. I need one. And when I get near the bottom, I'll go buy another one. So over the course of a couple of years, I guess, I'll be $20,000 richer, almost $22,000. And it'll even be better than that because I'm guessing that I won't drink anywhere near as much of Kentucky Gentleman as I do anything that I have behind me. So this could be great. I may recommend this. No, I won't. Don't let your significant other see this because then everybody be doing it and it won't be great for the industry. So is it doable? No, it would get boring. This doesn't have enough character to keep me interested night after night. I'll finish this bottle, and I'll finish this cigar. Quickly, I hope. So if you want to have a cheap evening, here's your ticket. Kentucky Gentleman. Easy to drink. It really is. It's not, dare I say, the rot gut I thought it would be. My apologies, but that's what I expected. It's drinkable, just not very exciting. If you've been drinking a lot of whiskey, you're not going to be excited about this. But if all I had was $7 in my pocket, I'll buy that. Heck yeah. So really give it a try and let me know what you think. Let me know if I misrepresented this, but I didn't find a lot online about either of these things. By the way, the Swisher Sweet, Black and Mild, in different places, they both claim to be the #1 seller. I do believe a lot of people buy these and maybe they don't like this tobacco that much. So what I have seen people do is they actually strip the tobacco out of it by cutting it a little bit. They strip the tobacco out and they put their own tobacco in. It's very strong smelling tobacco, but it's very common. And I think that's why these cigars are the #1 selling ones, not because of the tobacco that's in them. I could be wrong about that. It's just a guess. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. And have a great weekend. And rest of this week, too. Thank you.